You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
What up, Cal fans? We're going with the new intro, even though we lost. It's the Golden Bearcast, a proud partner of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I am one of your hosts, Andy. Alongside me is Rob, rocking the California football tee, brimming with optimism.
I mean, look, man, I've been tweeting it out all week and just, not even just on Twitter, right? But just telling folks. The experience that we've had over the last 7 days, for me personally, does not eclipse or cannot be eclipsed by what the game ended up being. And that's just my take.
I do want to take a second to shout out you and the Right for California crew, everybody, Avi, Nick, Nam, Trace, Rico, everybody.
The OGs.
Matt, everyone who put their heart and soul, and there's people I didn't shout out, and I apologize. There's just a group of people that got a tremendous amount of recognition that has been long overdue, and that was fantastic to see. And while I don't feel the same way as you, where the result of the game didn't have an impact on my mentals, given by the fact that I just went surfing on a Monday night to restore some serotonin in my body because it was all gone after Saturday evening.
It was gone after Sunday for you too. You experienced it twice.
Thank you for that. I can absolutely understand that sentiment, because y'all have been out here busting it and through a lot of adversity along the way, created something for yourselves, defined it, built it, promoted it, leaned into it further. And it feels like when Avi was a war reporter tweeting out,
the barricades have fallen.
The barricades have fallen.
They've breached the outer wall.
I felt like you all had made it atop the mountain of whatever Lord of the Rings reference you want to make. And whether or not Avi decided to toss his phone into the lava and be done with it or continue on, that's for him to know and us to guess. But
What a monologue. What a monologue. Just Andy McAfee right here. Just what an opening monologue, man. God. Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate that, the amount of outpouring of love and thanks and just there's no other word to describe it outside of love that we've gotten over the last few days, and has been absolutely just humbling. We're extremely grateful to be in the situation that we were in, and the fact that it's just that all these Cal fans made memories this week that will probably last a lifetime is there's no other words that can describe the magnitude of what that meant.
Yeah, it was. And so this is how we're going to break this up. First episode, we're going to do game day. Then we're going to take a pause. Then, for those of you that want to relive that game, we're going to relive it with you. And we're going to go through the game and focus on whatever the hell that was. And then we'll look ahead towards Pitt. And, of course, we'll do a separate final segment on Golden Tweets.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay. Rob, did you get the press pass for game day?
I did. After trials and tribulations on Friday night, I secured a press pass.
At what time?
It was like, I want to say it was like 9:30 at night.
Now, did you go to game day and to the Glade ahead of time? In that, like, I know I had friends. Shout out to Vargas and Antonio, who went to the Glade till 1 a.m., went home, slept for 3 hours, and came back at 4.
Wow, that's a trek. So my night was I was just waiting for this email to come in. So I didn't really want to go to the Glade. So Avi and Nam and a few others like had booked a hotel room at the Graduate, which is formerly the Hotel Durant. We were just in the lobby hanging out because starting at 8 a.m. or 8 p.m., we were scheduled to give out posters and memes that the burners had created and this team of burners had printed on poster boards. So I wanted to go there to take pictures of all these students coming in to grab these posters to go, which they did. We didn't have any posters left by like 45 minutes in, basically. It was just
at the hotel?
Yeah, at the hotel in the lobby. They allowed us to like set it up in the lobby. And just people were coming in and out, just grabbing posters and leaving. They're super nice about it. And then we were just hanging out there. Nam went to go get his friend Dave from the airport, and that was around 10:30. So we're just waiting around in the lobby. And then all of a sudden, Avi and Thomas, Thomas Dunn, who's one of the writers on Right for Cal, they went to the Glade just to see what the vibe was like, just to see how many students were out there. And they came back and they were like, the scenes are insane. And then Nam gets back, but right before Nam gets there, Avi and Thomas and some other people are like, we want to go back and see. So they went back, and within that moment of Nam arriving and Avi being there is when the outer wall fell. And it was like they stormed the beaches of Memorial Glade. And that's when we started to get the tweets, the videos of all the students just pouring into the inside of the main perimeter of the game day setup. Thankfully, all the fans stopped right before the pit. And I think security kind of barricaded themselves right in front of the line for the pit. And students, mostly students, were amicably, patient and just stood there. And they were there for the rest of the night up until 3 o'clock, where they started to let people into the pit, because you have to get the wristband and they only allow 400 people into the pit. So yeah, but for me, like as soon as the quote unquote, someone said it on the Twitter Spaces, they were like, or it was Justice, who's a friend of ours and is a writer for Bay Area News Group. He was like, he thought he was at home and he was like, do I have to go back? Like, this is like a inverse January 6th of game day. So yeah, I'm hearing police cars go by and I'm like, crap, I should probably leave before I get barricaded in and I can't leave Berkeley. So I left as soon as I started seeing those tweets, and Nam actually went to meet up with Avi to go see the sights for himself. His wording was he was chasing the story of the experience. So I went home. That's when I called you and texted you about what was happening. And then I got in bed, slept for an hour and a half, was up at 2:30, out the door because media roll call was at 4 a.m. And I wanted to actually go early because I wanted to get in some of the vibes before I had to actually like start taking pictures and video, right, to the work stuff. So
these times aren't even real.
It's not.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I got an hour and a half of sleep. Back up at 4. I had to be there at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can go through like what it was like for me. because I know that we had some questions from Golden Tweets, and they were like, we want to hear what it was like for game day for Andy and Rob, because you and I had such different experiences, me behind the cameras and you in front of the cameras. So yeah, I guess we can, if that's what we're going towards, we can talk about that. But if you had other things you want to talk about first about game day, I'm more than happy to do that too.
No, I really wanted to hear your side of it more so than obviously my own, because I lived that. So you get there at 4?
Yeah, I got that at 4. That's when media will call was, and they let us in. They checked us all off a list. They gave us like a credential. I really wanted to keep that credential because it was like it had the ESPN Game Day logos, but it's like laminated. And they're like, please return them. And so I did the right thing and returned it. But after game day was over, but 4:00, they explained to us what we can and can't do, and basically the platform of game day, like the stage, was like elevated, right? And behind the cameras to the left was like this little platform. I think maybe, I want to say somewhere between like a 5x8 stage, like a platform. So it's not that large.
No, it really wasn't.
Really. But like the media platform is off to the corner, and it only fits about 7 people. So the PR person was just like, yeah, it's just about 7 people. We're going to be rotating people in throughout every like 20 or 30 minutes or so. And we were like, great. That's when like Desmond Howard first came on, and they started to do like the online show, I think at 5:20. But up until that point, like they were chill with us going up to students, taking footage of like the pit and all the students up against the barricades, like right in front of the stage, and posters, and you can interview them if you needed to. And so we just did that for like, I think the first like 45 minutes to an hour. And then afterwards they backed us up behind the cameras because they had to start the digital show with like Harry Lyles Jr. and all them. And then of course they were connecting back to Bristol, right? And doing that thing with Desmond Howard. And then from there, it was just like constantly rotating. And when I was not on that platform, I walked outside and then walked around the perimeter of game day, and just wanted to take in some of the sights and sounds like with my own eyes and not on a camera. And that pretty much sums up my experience. Like it was just being up there, like trying to find an angle to shoot the guys on the stage, through the big TV cameras that they have. It was actually really, the coolest thing for me though was like just not realizing until afterwards that I was on the set of a live TV show, like not even a recording, but like something that was actually being broadcast to people live in that moment. And that's why everyone was like so much more stressed out, so much more senses heightened of like not messing up and doing anything wrong and sticking by a schedule of getting things done. And so that was just an incredible moment, and just seeing a lot of the things that happen backstage with that and what's planned. Like a couple of the backstage things I'll talk about. Like I have footage of Justin Wilcox talking to Pat McAfee, and like they had just like, we're going past each other, and Pat was like asking him what college he went to, and he was talking about Oregon. And I think one of the things that Pat said right as they were like, because Pat had to get back on stage, he looks at Wilcox and he goes, "Coach, thanks for the hospitality. It was really fun today." And then Justin leaves, of course, because he's got to prep for a game, and Pat McAfee's back up on stage to do the rest of College Game Day. But beyond that, like the people that were in the pit and the people that were in like behind the stage, like and behind the stage I mean the crowd. I can't even like begin to explain what the energy felt like from behind the camera, because the sounds that I heard and the energy that I received is basically what the panelists got, right? But if you're in there and you're yelling forward, you're not really getting the sense of how much energy is being projected in this one specific direction. And like, I don't have any words to describe it. Like I have never been in a situation like that, nor have I experienced that type of energy like that stemmed for 6 hours basically and would not let up. And so that was so chilling the entire time. I cannot tell you how many times I caught myself just smiling, just standing there and witnessing all of this happen in real time. Pat McAfee before the live show started comes up on stage. He daps all the cameramen up, and all that, holding a venti Starbucks coffee and a Celsius in a single hand. He has the Celsius can underneath and a venti coffee on top, and he's holding it together with one hand. Sits down, puts it down, and all of he's just like getting himself amped up, right? He's like vibing to the music and whatnot. And then he gives that opening monologue about coming to Berkeley, and like the fans and the reception they received. And then he tops it all off. He points at the crowd and he goes like, I know it's midterm season, but these sons of bitches said, give me College GameDay. And you just hear the crowd roar. And then, he does that was such a good transition too, by the way, where he's like, yeah, I was out in Berkeley and I asked the students, like, are you going to come to College GameDay? And they responded, you know it. And then there's that moment for a split second where the crowd doesn't register that he had said that in the meaning that he was trying to portray, that he's trying to trigger the chant. So the first what is kind of subtle. And then he goes, you tell the story. And that's when everyone realizes what this moment is. And they erupt. And it just goes into you tell the whole damn world this is bear territory. And that moment forever will live in my mind. I've rewatched that scene on my YouTube TV because I have it recorded so many times over the last 48 hours. It's uncanny. Like, just, oh, man. But the thing I will say from behind the scenes, one more thing before I hand it back to you, is Pat McAfee comes up on stage and all the panelists are there. They're just kind of getting ready for game day to start. The crowd behind is pumping. They're jumping up and down. They're like, the show's about to start. Pat McAfee looks over at Reese Davis, and I kid you not, the exact mouthing of his words was "wow." That's all. That was it. He just looks over at Davis and goes "wow," and that was that. That was kind of my experience. I still have to live through a lot of it because I still have to edit the photos that I took and the video that I took. But yeah, it's the adrenaline was pumping for the rest of the day for sure.
That's so special. I think that the moment when you talk about the energy, I felt it because I came late. I felt it when Daniel made the kick. I wasn't there actually yet. But I heard this roar when we were walking by Wheeler Hall. And I turned to Adam, who was walking with me. I go, holy shit. we better walk faster. We got to get over there. I mean, it was I remember, where did I see this? Someone posted, maybe in one of my group chats, a comment from Nextdoor. Did you see this?
No.
And it was a Nextdoor where someone said, is anyone hearing loud noises and roars coming from campus? It's 3 a.m. or it's been going on since midnight and it hasn't been stopping. It's 3 a.m.
Incredible.
Oh,
incredible.
Goodness. Just so hilarious. Well, Nextdoor. What an important app. I digress. So the roar there was, I believe I showed up right after Daniel made the kick. This is my understanding.
Incredible moment in its own right.
And it was an electric atmosphere. And it was just really hard to take in that it was all happening and looking left, looking right, seeing all the signs. It's a way bigger production than I remember it being. Yeah. I don't think they had an overhead camera that could go back and forth and look at the crowd that was like 2007, right? I don't think they had that.
Technology's advanced.
Way advanced. And they certainly didn't have a field that Marshawn could drive a cart down.
Yeah.
And a second stage, that's all new. And then Stanford Steve getting booed relentlessly. every time. And shout out to him for having just the braveness, if that's even a word, to wear a full Stanford outfit.
I mean, he leaned into it, which I was like, great. Don't back down. And that's what he did.
He did not. It was great. And I loved seeing Saban in the blue and gold tie. And
oh God, that
we
moment.
can dream, right? We can say, hey, that looks pretty good. Like,
that
you want to come
on you.
next year? Next year sounds good. I think we said that on this podcast once. We said, what would be the task that Nick Saban would actually take on? Because he's done a lot.
Yeah.
But what he hasn't really done yet is go to Cal and become the head coach and win a natty.
A full rebuild.
We're gonna need to see that. So Nick, get your resume ready, and we'll have the regents look it over.
Do you know the backstory of that? You know
the tie?
Yeah.
Of how it happened?
Of like where he got the tie and like, you know, just the backstory of the tie.
Go for it.
So I don't know if this was planned, right? I don't know if this had any, you know, but Reese Davis did that earlier on in game day. He had a reddish tie, and he took it off, swung it, and tossed it, and it got the fan base incredibly excited. And you know, if you watch the replay, there's a part early on where the crowd's yelling "Saban, Saban," and you know, Pat taps him on the shoulder. He's like, you know, like to take it in, and he turns around and he takes it in, and then it leads to the part later on in the day where he takes his tie. They've convinced him to take the tie off, and then he twirls it, and you're like, oh, he's just gonna take the tie off, and then Pat McAfee grabs a tie from under the table and puts it on him, and it's that blue and gold tie. I found out afterwards that's one of the Mike Men's ties. And the cooler part about Saban, and this was just like for me, I was like, oh, this is why Saban's such a great human being and a coach. He took the tie with him. He didn't leave it. He took it with him. And as a parting gift, took one of the Home Depot hard hats that was in the student section in the pit, signed it, and on it wrote, "Thanks for the tie," and handed it to that Mike Man.
Cool.
That's lifelong. That's a lifelong memory and a piece of memorabilia you're never going to get rid of.
Yeah. 100%. Totally agree. Yeah, it was great. And then, of course, I think Jared and I'll just shout out everybody. Jared and JJ and Evan and Adam, and that was our crew. I hope I'm not forgetting someone. But it was so funny because and I think was Franco there? Franco must have been there. So definitely don't want to leave out Franco because he's actually like a diehard listener of the pod. So I believe there. And the funniest thing is he had put in to ChatGPT what he should put on a poster.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I thought this was a protest. And it got on TV, national TV.
That was his?
Mm-hmm.
The one that was handwritten?
Yeah.
Oh my God. We actually know the guy who had that. Wow.
No, well, no, because there's another one that says this protest sucks.
Yeah, but but you're saying he's the one that had the one that said, "I thought this was a protest."
I mean, knowing my memory,
oh my God,
I can fact check it, but I don't want to hop on the phone.
Yeah.
I think give me one of the two, but yeah, it was definitely on national TV. It 100% got shown. He screenshotted it, but it was ChatGPT.
AI, baby. AI working its magic.
So good. So everybody had signs. Everyone's holding up. Such a good vibe. So cool. Then, of course, all of a sudden, this huge crowd moves over to the football field again. And so we ran over there. That's when I got on because I was rocking the really old retro Cal basketball jersey that I have. the number 1 that I'm convinced just nobody would wear. And so the overhead caught me and Adam, which was great. And,
That's cool.
As Marshawn was coming down and doing his thing and ghost riding, and with Jess Simmons, the Peloton instructor, I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I guess she's the host on the side host.
Oh, so funny! It's like, oh my gosh, I know Jess Sims from my Peloton class. But yeah, I mean, it was just such a scene, and so many people, and I loved all of the picks and the boos, and it was just so good. And seeing Pat and Marshawn obviously picking the Bears to win. I love the little deeks that everybody gave around. Oh, like they all set it up to be Cal and then picked against Cal. And yeah, it was incredible. And one of my favorite parts that I was going to talk about later, but I'll talk about it now, was on the broadcast. Reese Davis has zero voice by the end of that football game. And I mean, for good reason. He's up at, who knows? I mean, if you're having to do check-in at 4, I can't even imagine what time he's up at. And then the game goes past midnight. So he's probably been up almost 24 hours straight.
Yeah.
His voice sounds like it.
Yeah.
He barely could talk. He's sitting there. So Miami's gonna have a chance to complete the comeback. That's all he could basically say. Like the individual plays just had nothing. And good for him. That's amazing that he was even down to do that. To do game day and then take the night call. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean the vibes were just amazing. Like you talked about Marshawn, I'm going to give a bunch of backstage stories here because people just don't get to experience that. So Marshawn gets to backstage, right? First of all, one other anecdote. Someone told me, and I need to get this verified, but the golf cart that he actually drives down the field from where Daniel made the field goal was told it was the actual golf cart he drove in 06, 05, and they pulled it out of storage.
Amazing. Amazing.
Second, Marshawn arrives backstage, and we're on that platform, shooting the stage. I get a little tap on my shoulder, like a little bump. And of course you turn around to see because there's only 7 people scrunched up. I'm like, what? Why is someone bumping into me? All the people are turned around and looking down, because it's a platform with a staircase down, right? Everyone's looking at the staircase. I'm like, why is everyone looking at the staircase? And I peek around. Marshawn's sitting at the bottom of that staircase and smoking the fattest joint I have ever seen a human hold. Ever. And I couldn't get my camera out in time, so I have pictures of him sitting there, but he just takes a huge hit and just this cloud of smoke just envelops him and is floating up in the air. Someone has some great shots of it. I've seen some of the other photographers' work, but just what a Marshawn moment. And then in my mind, I'm like, they're going to let him on a golf cart after that? Don't we remember what happened the last time we put him on a golf cart on Memorial Field? He nearly knocked out a Cal band member. So it was just, oh man, that moment forever seared into my mind of Marshawn doing that. But yeah, man, I mean, Pat McAfee, no matter what you think of Pat McAfee as the personality or whatnot, the dude knows how to play a crowd. Absolutely knows how to play a crowd. And to do that, at the very beginning with you tell the story, you tell the whole damn world this is Bear territory, and then the roll on you Bears chant that he does later, and just the vibes. I think the vibes of game day forced him to pick Cal. I don't think he was planning to pick Cal, but I think he enjoyed himself with the crowd way too much that it was a vibe pick at that point. Like even because you see it on the broadcast when you go back and watch even Kirk Herbstreit and him when with Daniel misses the first one, but he like launches it for like 45 yards. It's just off to the side. You see both of their facial expressions. They did not expect a civil engineer from Berkeley to be able to kick a football like that whatsoever. They thought he was going to shank it. And then he nails the second one, which, mind you, if you weren't there, you don't realize it's uphill. That's an uphill kick. So he needs more than however many yards they said it was, right? Like in terms of, you can't go flat. You got to kick it up in the air. And to do it in Vans.
In Vans.
In Vans. In laceless Vans. Just absolutely incredible scenes. And the place went electric. And oh God, yeah. There's so much I'm probably forgetting right now. But we're just talking through it and living through it, and I'm just saying whatever I remember. But it was the 6 hours I was there was one of the best moments of my entire life. And probably will never, ever forget it. And I was editing some of my photos earlier today too. And I remember, even though I was dead tired, I remember exactly where I was when I took that picture. I remember exactly what the vibe was when I took that picture. Just the entire memory of that early morning is like seared into my head.